Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Claw on the King podcast. I am joined by my fellow friend and avid NBA fan himself, Oscar. Quite a week in the world of sports. I'm actually kind of glad we didn't do a pod right after the trade that we'll sort of delve into, because a few bits have happened today, and it's good to sort of have the week to sort of see what the timeline of events has been, and if there is any sort of salvation for either side and who's winning the trade so far. What do you want to sort of start off with a comment or start, because as an avid Laker fan, this would have hit you hard.
It did, yes.
Do you want to say where you were when you heard the news?
Where I was? Well, I was actually at my cousin's house for a family dinner/lunch.
Wow.
And I actually found out when you texted me, because I wasn't on my phone. I was just, around the table talking. And then I see you text me like, how did you guys get Luka? And I was like, what is he talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then I opened my phone and I was like, holy shit, what has just happened? So then I just sat there in silence the rest of the night, just in my feelings. Like, this is one of the biggest moments of my life.
The greatest high you'll ever get is Luka Doncic.
Honestly, it felt better than drugs. Not that I've done drugs, but
not that you have.
It absolutely insane. The biggest trade in NBA history by far. Never has a 25-year-old superstar, top 3 player in the league been traded in their prime. Out of nowhere as well. Like, you would have thought there would have been rumors, something. It was just absolutely out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, Luka is traded to the Lakers. So I mean, we can break it down. Obviously, everyone has been trolling the Mavs for essentially torpedoing their franchise.
Wait, no, we'll get into that. I think go through the details. So it was Luka Doncic that headed to the Lakers, then back to the Mavs. It was AD,
Max
Christie, who's looked solid so far, not a bad one, and then a 2029 first, and then I think Jalen Hood-Schifino went to the Jazz.
And we got Kleber and Morris, but no one cares about that.
Yeah, the best tweet, just before I forget, the best tweet that I actually saw from this whole saga is essentially someone that tweeted, I forgot who it was, that, what's his name? Who's the Jazz general manager? It used to be the Boston one. Danny Ainge.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Ainge is such a crack addict for massive trades that he had to get in on this one. No matter, he just had to get in it. He just had to be involved in a stupid one lopsided trade. Look, I think we should talk about the Mavs' perspective first, because that's what is the initial sort of shocking element part of it. Look. And from what ensued, we'll talk about sort of the press conferences after, but just face value, this was probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I looked at that tweet from Shams. This is the main commentary that's going out. If everybody and their dog thinks that the guy who tweeted the news got hacked, then you fucked up in the trade. It didn't seem real. The fact that they sent out Luka Doncic, who is just so untradeable, it's not even funny. He dragged you to the finals last year, and you're shipping him out for nothing. Well, not nothing, but you're shipping him out. And I didn't get it initially. The fact that it was only 1 first as well, that you get for AD, it was just a bizarre one. I thought it was fake. And then you read deeper into it, and you're like, fuck. Maybe it is real. Even though he tweeted after, this is not fake. You're like, the guy still got his account. Or the hacker's still in his account. But then ESPN tweeted it, and then a bunch of other publications did. The return is simply not enough for that kind of guy. And at the time, you're thinking, okay, he must have demanded a trade. He's got the Supermax coming up, or his extension coming up. He's only got a year and a bit, or a year and a half left on his contract. He must have demanded a way out. He must have said, you got to trade me. And in that case, you've got to trade him. So you're thinking, well, why would you just give up? Why wouldn't you get more? Why wouldn't you field offers for him? Why would you just zero in on Anthony Davis? Just like that, it just doesn't make any sense. and only getting one first. The Lakers had way more picks to give up. They had Austin Reeves. They had Dalton Knecht. They had valuable young pieces as well that you could pair with. It's not like the Mavs are, thriving with talent off their bench. They got Dante Exum getting 25 minutes a night. So it's not like they're sort of strong, especially off the bench. I think Austin Reeves would have really helped them with a ball handler, because if you're going to trade Luka, you've only got Kyrie that can handle the ball. I mean, Clay's not dribbling. I mean, who else is dribbling in that backcourt? PJ Washington.
Well, you got Dinwiddie.
Right. They've got Dinwiddie, but they need probably an Austin Reeves type of guy. So why not get him back? Why not get pick swaps? Why not get more first? And the fact that you're zeroing in on Anthony Davis, it never goes well when you're trying to trade, he's not better than Luka now. So why would he be? And this is the best time that you're going to get Anthony Davis, or the best version that you're going to get of him. So the fact that you're trading for this guy when he's got no future really, other than the next 1 to 2 years, it's putting a clock on your team. It's putting a ton of pressure on your team. And is he going to impact winning as much as Luka in the playoffs? No. Luka is probably the most impactful player in the playoffs over the past couple of years. He's dragged his Mavs teams to the Western Conference Finals and the Finals. And I just didn't get it from that standpoint initially. And then obviously we'll delve into what more happened. But what was your initial reaction from the Mavs side?
Well, my initial reaction is highway robbery. I mean, it is just, there is no justification for trading Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Originally, when I saw it, I just heard that we got Luka. I didn't know the details. I was like, holy shit, we've traded LeBron and AD. And then...
And every pick that we have.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh no, it's just AD. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then it's like, you only took one of our first round picks.
And it's the more recent one, which is the more infuriating part of it, because the Lakers are not going to be bad with Luka on their team.
Yeah, it's it's extremely strange. And then it comes out, more details come out as it goes on, that they approached the Lakers, and they only approached one other team, which was Milwaukee. They obviously wanted Giannis, and Milwaukee said no. Which is, I'd probably trade Giannis for Luka, but that's their decision. But the fact that they didn't ask anyone else is just like, what are you doing? I don't understand. I really don't understand. It's calamitous error, really. And everyone's been trolling the GM. What's his name?
Nico
Harrison. And how he also lost Steph to Nike back in the day.
Well, that was the initial thing that came up as well. It's like how he called Steph, sorry.
Yeah, and it was like the PowerPoint slides had like KD's logo on them, and like, oh my, and
Well, that's where it immediately went. It's like, why? You see the details, and then it comes out later in the day that Luka did not request a trade. Luka, in fact, was very content in signing a Supermax. So why would you trade him, and why would you specifically target AD and not field other offers? I think the AD thing of it is quite simple. I think he felt like he wanted another defensive, an elite defensive player that had offensive upside, and AD probably fit his bill. And Rob Pelinka, much credit to him for convincing him that AD was the only player that he could trade for. And I think he already had a pre-establishing relationship with AD. I think that was his main thing as well. And it felt like that Luka was not liked by Nico Harrison. And a clip that also emerged was, if you remember, after they won the Western Conference Finals, Luka had a beer in his hand and Nico Harrison took the beer off him in the locker room. So it felt like it was him trying to reset the culture by trading Luka, and him coming, them leaking that he's fat and he's lazy. Did you watch any podcasts? Did you watch like the Bill Simmons podcast in relation to it?
No.
So Bill Simmons had a guy called Ryan Russillo on. Fantastic quote that he came out with. He said, essentially, I don't care if he was smoking a cigarette walking up the court. It doesn't matter that he was 270 pounds or whatever you're leaking him out to be. He single-handedly dragged you to the finals.
Yeah.
And was elite in doing so, and just got tired in the finals. I think people say, oh, well, he didn't look great against the Celtics. Well, he was exhausted. I mean, if you're getting to your first NBA finals ever, you're going to be exhausted in that moment when you're playing such heavy minutes and you're carrying the load so much. And I think that it's kind of gone under the radar that it's not a weight thing. That's just you haven't been to that moment before. Anthony Edwards, when they played each other in the Western Conference Finals, was exhausted that entire round. He could not move. He was exhausted because he never got to that point before. So I just that criticism coming from Dallas is just stupid. It's so idiotic.
And he doesn't even, like, you know, when he's rocked up to Lakers things, I'm expecting him to look like James Harden. And he looks fine. He looks like normal Luka Doncic. He's never, you know, he's never muscular or, like, you know, in shape, but he just looks like normal Luka Doncic.
But it's such a bizarre thing to say because no one cares. If your performance is good, no one cares. People cared about when Harden was getting overweight because it impacted his performance, and he was lazy on the court. But to say that Luka is in the same kettle of fish is just completely wrong. I mean, Jokic, does anyone from the Denver organization ever criticize Jokic for his weight? No. Because he is an elite player that helps them win and is their main player on the team. And Luka was the same for the Mavs, but you've got a guy there who simply did not like what he brought culturally to that team.
Yeah, and to me, it seems like it was just a spite thing of this guy did not want to pay him the Supermax. And he was like, I want you to, because for whatever reason, he didn't like his work ethic.
Well, yeah. That was the main thing that came, was that they didn't want it to be a Joel Embiid situation.
Yeah.
Where Joel Embiid, look, he has his problems with, you know, people say load management and his attitude sometimes. But he has crippling injury history. Like, he has terrible, if you look at his time, even in college, was heavily injured. He is just a guy that's too injury prone. That is the reason why he has not lived up to his Supermax. It's not because when he gets on the court he's bad. It's simply because his body cannot handle that amount of time on the court. It falls apart if it's his back or whatever. He just cannot handle it. And to put Luka and Embiid in the same elk, it's criminal because like I said, when Luka's done what Luka's done in the playoffs is insane. And Embiid has not done that. And Luka has shown throughout stretches that he can be healthy and he can provide throughout a whole playoff series. I just never... The excuses that they're coming out with, and they've come out with recently, is just asinine because no one believes it and no one cares, even if he is overweight.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, when your fans are literally holding a funeral outside your stadium for a trade.
There was full protest today.
Yeah.
There was a full stadium protest outside the arena.
And you're refunding season tickets and all this sort of shit. It's like, obviously, you've done something a little bit left field, to say the least. And we can talk about the press conference as well. I've never seen a coach look like he wanted to kill a GM so much in my life. Jason Kidd looked like he was about to pull a knife out.
But it sounded like it was all Nico's idea. And
it was. And that's why Jason Kidd looked like he was about to shoot him.
The main problem that I have with his thinking what he's done is that he doesn't think about the impact. He thinks it's a 2K game. He's acting like you're just trading one for one. You think this guy's going to help you defensively more than Luka. Fine. It's a risk, but I think basketball-wise it makes sense. He doesn't understand the impact that it has culturally on the fans and all those kids. If you're a 5-year-old or 6-year-old in Dallas, or I don't know, a 10-year-old, maybe a bit older, and you've gone for the Mavs since you were 5, and all you've known is Luka, are you gonna follow the Mavs now that he's traded, or are you gonna follow the Lakers? Probably the Lakers. And you've just culturally separated the entire. You've created a rift in the fan base, and you know who has to answer for it? Not him, because he's not doing anything. It's the poor fuckers that have to answer all these fan calls, and the season tickets.
Oh, it's the membership team, is it?
It is. Look, they have to refund. You know how much the season ticket is for Dallas?
How much?
$2,000. So the amount of people that
you get 40 games for that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the least amount probably. It's the amount of slack that everyone in the building that works for the Mavs organization is going to get through it, if it's ticket sales or through its... He doesn't think about that. He just thinks about my basketball decision. And the impact, it just didn't seem like it's waned on him. And in that press conference, he just acted like it was a basketball decision, acted like Luka didn't care about being in the Mavs, didn't care about getting in shape. But any other player that's made a comment about it, Kyrie or Jason Kidd or whoever, has said he is, I don't know why, like, they were all in utter shock. They obviously can't say anything bad about the guy, but they were all in utter shock that he was gone.
Yeah, and I mean, the Mavs players that came with him, Finney Smith, who was already a part of the Lakers, was just JJ Redick as well, obviously former teammate of Luka. They were all just like completely denying that and just saying, look, we've been in the locker room, we've been on teams with this guy, we know what he does, we know he's, he's not lazy, he's not what this guy is saying, and we'll happily take him. So, there's nothing bad to say really about it from the Lakers' perspective. I mean, we can talk about where it potentially puts us in the championship race, and I think it puts us right there.
Yeah, I think we should get to that maybe in a bit after we've sort of delved into maybe the Lakers side of it first. Now, Rob Pelinka gets that call. He's like, look, we want Anthony Davis. They're like, no, we're not trading Anthony Davis. We'd give up Luka for Anthony Davis. And he's like, okay, let me have a think about that. And then says yes, immediately probably. No, but it sounded like a couple of week negotiation. Essentially, from the Lakers' perspective, they talked Nico Harrison down. And that's what came out recently was they initially wanted more. They initially wanted like a Dalton Connect and more first and pick swaps. But essentially, Rob Pelinka said, well, if we can't talk to him, and you don't want this going out to the media. And this is Nico Harrison saying that he doesn't want this to go out to the media because he knows he'll get crucified before the fact. And the owners will stop the trade. He doesn't want it going out to the media. So essentially Rob Pelinka says to him, well, if we can't speak to his agent and speak to him, then how do we know that he's going to extend with us? So we have to give up value that's equitable to 1.5 years. So he's essentially saying, well, look, we can't risk any future first. Or we can risk one maybe, but we can't risk a boatload of future first for a guy that we don't know that's going to be here long term. And they essentially agreed with that. And I can't believe it.
It's a masterclass from Rob.
I think when you're looking at it from the Lakers' perspective, you have to accept it. I know AD has been a really impactful player for them over the years, but you've got to just accept it. There is no abandoning this deal. To get a guy like Luka Doncic in his prime, not even in his prime yet, at 25 years old, it's so crazily rare that there has never been a crazier trade in NBA history. And to have the ability, not just to, like if he was a free agent and you got him, that's crazy. But to trade for him and give up Anthony Davis, but you're changing your timeline. You're changing your ability to win championships. AD gives you AD and LeBron, it felt like it was going nowhere. Look, this team probably not going to win the championship this year with AD and LeBron as it's currently constructed. Looked good, but probably not going to win. This opens up so many more possibilities. It gives you time to move and rebuild. It gives you an opportunity to trade for a Mark Williams, who we'll get into as well, and a younger center, because you're not constricted to a 2 to 3 year timeline. You wouldn't be going after a Clint Capella. You're going after a young guy who can pair with Luka for 10 years. It just opens up so many possibilities. And as a Laker fan, how does it make you feel in terms of your future? And do you think they had to pull the trigger on this trade?
Obviously, they had to pull the trigger. I mean, it gives you 10 years of security. I mean, with LeBron and AD, every year could be the last year that we're good, and with Luka, you're guaranteeing yourself 5 years of being relevant at least. We've seen him drag bad Dallas teams to the playoffs and beyond. And we got to keep all our good players. Like Reeves is good, Rui is good. These guys will be amazing with Luka. So there's no reason why we're not going to be a good team for the next 5 to 10 years now. Yeah, it's a great result. Amazing from Rob Pelinka. And Rob Pelinka's got a bit of stick over the past few years for not being able to get deals done. But, when it came to the big moment, he came up clutch. So
I don't think he's a great GM. I will put that out there. The decisions that he's made have been bad ones. Like he's made
there have been bad ones.
I don't think he has a lot, but I think he's a master at. He's an agent, so he's a master negotiator. He's a master. He's a master. I wouldn't say he's a master manipulator, but he knows how to speak and he knows how to convince people to do things. And look, his decision making at times or pursuing of like a Russell Westbrook, for example, not the greatest idea.
Yeah, but LeBron heavily, apparently LeBron was involved in that.
Yeah, I think it's like his decision making at times not the best, but once he decides to do something, he does it. And to get this over the line without it leaking to the media and essentially having a one-man bidding war, it never happens.
And also shows, how, I don't know what this will say, but Anthony Davis has been screaming from the hillsides that he wants a center for the past 5 years.
Center, mate.
And
you got two of them.
Luka comes in one day, asks for a center, and the next day they've traded for one. So, it's and look, Mark Williams, I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen him play, but I looked up his stats. He's averaging 13 and 10, so that looks good to me.
I did a bit of digging into him. He's a very talented player, one of the more talented players in the NBA. However, his injury history is bad. He's played less than 50% of his games. He's 7'2". He's got amazing reach. He's just like he kind of reminds me of a more athletic Zubac. And I know that Zubac, you're probably hoping for more than Zubac, but
I'd take Zubac. We don't need like an all-star center.
He's like that. He's very like when he's around the rim, he's very powerful, but he also has a bit of finesse. He's a very strong player around the rim. Defensively, not there, especially yet, but he has a talent to do that. It's just sort of locking in and staying healthy for him. But he's 22 years old, so it's a risky move. But if it pays off, you've got a potential all-star center. And he's averaging, I think, over his last 8 games with Charlotte, he was averaging 20 and 12 or something like that. Like he has that kind of big rebound, big point score potential, like a Zubac can do a 20 and 20 game. I think he does have that in his locker.
Nice.
But you gave up a lot for him.
Well, we gave up Dalton.
Which is not a lot,
let's be honest.
But it's more the first round pick and the pick swap. Like that, those two assets were your best ones. And you're, like I said, it's a risk because you're betting the guy will stay healthy.
But I think you've got to do it. Like we can't. That was the one position that we needed strengthening. I mean, Jackson Hayes is not going to cut it as a starting center on a championship team.
Yeah.
So
the argument was, well, do you pay less of a price for a Robert Williams? Do you pay less of a price for, like I said, a Clint Capella? That was the argument, but they've opted to go super young on a high potential guy. So I rate it. I think it's a good move. It's just the future for the Lakers is so bright. It's not even funny. People were saying to trade Austin Reeves.
We're trying to build the ultimate white boy squad right now.
No, I get that. And Dalton, not Dalton Reeves, Austin Reeves, probably your most valuable player asset that you wouldn't hate going, just because, especially in the short term, ball handling wise, he's best when the ball's in his hand. He's not really an off ball player. He can play off ball, but he's mainly a guy that, I mean, he showed today that can light it up when he's the main guy on the court. So he's not going to get that opportunity when Luka and LeBron are here. So it'll be interesting to see what his role turns into, and if he is a guy that maybe JJ elects to play LeBron and Luka the exact same minutes they come off the court at the same time, then Austin Reeves comes on and he's still that primary ball handler and gives LeBron and Luka time to rest and they'll both play together. I don't know what the thinking from JJ will be, but I don't hate that he's staying for if I was a Lakers fan, but I'd also say if we included him in that deal or maybe kept Dalton but traded him, what other center could we have got? Could we have got maybe still a young center that's not as risky? Could we have gone? I don't know. You could have
Tingus Pingus.
Yeah, you could have gone for a Sabonis or I don't know. That you could get an upgrade on Mark Williams, but you elected not to do that and keep Austin Reeves. So Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the move, and I just, excited to see how it looks. I think he was originally scheduled to make his debut today, Luka, but it's now going to be in 2 days' time, allegedly. So, yeah, just...
It'll be most watched game.
Well, the Dallas Lakers game in a few weeks is going to be...
crazy.
Absolutely insane. Yes, but I guess we can sort of say from this trade, it sort of sent the entire league into a frenzy where... essentially, the entire league was either in trade rumors or traded in the next 2 days. Yeah. So,
and as soon as you saw the trades, you were like, it's not like, who cares? Jimmy Butler's been traded, who cares? And I just want to cap off with the whole Mavs, this trade, really. Today, the Mavs played.
Oh, yes. Anthony Davis debut.
Looked unbelievable first half. I mean, he had crazy 24, 13, and 3 blocks. He was unreal. He looked like the best thing, better than Luka. I mean, honestly, they thought they'd won the trade. But then he does what Anthony Davis does and gets injured with a groin injury. I think it's re-injuring his groin injury, actually, that he sustained a couple of weeks ago. And he's probably going to be out for the next 6 weeks, I'd imagine. So
it's a traditional Anthony Davis game: 27 points, 13 boards, 4 blocks, and 1 injury.
Yeah, but he got it all in the first half, which was better. I mean,
I mean, look, the Mavs. That's what you traded for. That is literally Anthony Davis.
Well, yeah. So, if you're upset and you're, thinking, oh, I don't know if Luka can stay healthy and stay fit during this supermax that we're going to give him, we got to trade him. Then, well, look out for Anthony Davis because he'll step that up. He'll really he'll lower the bar or heighten the bar. I don't know which way you want to look at it, but it's such a bad move, and like I said, that I don't think it was a question that I also saw on a podcast as well. If Dallas won the championship this year, do you think? I don't think it even. I still think 90% of Dallas fans would rather still have Luka.
I don't know.
I think it vindicates Nico Harris, and this is best of the best situation and scenario for the Mavs. But if they win the chip, I think it vindicates Nico Harrison. I think it keeps him the smart guy. He's such a smart guy in the NBA circles. But I think that fan base will actually... I just think that fan base will be so depressed that it doesn't. It won't even matter. They won't even care that they won the championship.
I think they will, though. I think
they'll care, but I think they'd still rather have Luka. I think a championship does not fix this.
I mean, time will tell.
He's a cult hero. They thought, okay, we've got our next Dirk. We have our guy that's going to stay here for the whole time. He's going to have a statue, and he's just going to be a legend in this city. And you've traded him away. I don't think 1 year replaces that.
Yeah, probably not. And it depends. I mean, if the Lakers win 2 championships in the next 10 years, then probably not. But, if Luka comes out, gets injured, never reaches his potential, then you could say it was a good trade. But on the percentages, you'd say, yes, it's a terrible trade, and most likely Dallas fans will never forgive this guy for however long he remains involved in the organization. Probably not much longer. But we can sort of move on from Dallas Lakers, I think, now, and just rattle through some of the other trades that happened, give our thoughts where that places each team. The next big one that happened after that was 3-team trade: San Antonio, Sacramento, and Chicago.
Yep.
Another team that got fleeced, the Bulls.
They always get fleeced.
Losing Zach LaVine for a couple of bags of chips is not ideal, but
they're so bad at doing business that everyone knew Zach LaVine was on the trade block for at least a year and a bit. I mean,
it feels like it's been 3 years.
Yeah, it feels like ever since he got there, he's been on the trade block. He's been there 7 years.
I mean, and there's no one. There was not one better offer in 3 entire years than that.
I think there was, and I think a lot of NBA insiders actually alluded to the fact that there was, especially in the off season this year, that there were some solid offers for him, but it's just gotten to a point that they left it too late. And especially after the Luka trade, everyone's like, well, fuck, if that's what gets you Luka, then what? I think my left toenail probably gets Zach LaVine. So, yeah, I think the Bulls, obviously got fleeced in that trade. The Kings walk out with a couple first-round picks. I think the Kings didn't get enough, personally. I think, look, I know he's openly said that he wants to go, and he's going to go in a year and a half. But you have to get a young player from San Antonio. They got a lot of first round capital, which is good. They didn't get the Hawks pick this year, which was bizarre, though. I mean, San Antonio owned the Hawks pick, and the Hawks just traded everyone for no reason, even though they don't have their pick.
Yeah.
So San Antonio have the Hawks pick, but Sacramento surely has to include that because that's going to be a lottery pick, probably maybe even a top 5 pick, and you're just not in a stacked draft class, and you've just got to get that first round pick. You've just got to get that. I can't believe they just didn't include it. They've got a lot of first round picks, but they didn't get the main one.
And everyone, I think everyone was surprised that San Antonio got to keep all of their young core. There was no Castle, no Vassell.
No Vassell, yeah.
So yeah, San Antonio are the big winners out of that trade for sure. Getting De'Aaron Fox to pair with Wembanyama is going to be an elite duo. Wembanyama is already dragging that team to somewhat relevance. They probably weren't going to make the playoffs. If they didn't make this trade now, they could definitely make the playoffs. But yeah, Wembanyama is obviously going to be one of the best players in the league for the next 10, 15 years. Like, everyone can see that. Yeah. And adding De'Aaron Fox, one of the more elite point guards, still in his prime. What is he, 28 years old, something like that? You're still going to get 5 good years out of him. It's a no-brainer for San Antonio, really. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think that they'll make the playoffs from here, or is it just too much ground to make up? Because I don't think they can finish top 6, but...
No, I still think they're too far out. The West is too stacked. There's too many, even though they're not that many games behind the play-in, especially. There's too many teams there. There's just way too many. Even if you go on a 3 or 4 game win streak, you might jump one person, but the 3 people ahead of them might have gone on a 2 game win streak, and you're still behind. It's too many teams. They're gonna be better this season, but they could sneak into the play-in, but I just don't think they can get much further than that.
No, and I mean, yeah, and like one of the teams they'll be fighting is obviously Sacramento, who you could argue this year would still have a better team than San Antonio with Levine, Sabonis, and DeRozan.
Yeah.
And Monk and Keegan Murray, who's been a bit of a bot this year, but that, I mean, from Sacramento's perspective, they're just fucking doing what they always do, which is be mid to trash every year.
Well, that's Sacramento, isn't it? I feel bad for them because they need to go on a full reset, and they never do. Their owner never wants to do it, and they've needed a full reset for a while. For good 10, 15 years, they've needed to sort of, hey guys, we need to pull the plug on this. And I don't know, they finished second? Did they finish second? Was it 2 years ago or?
Nah, I think it was third.
Okay,
but anyway, they lost in the first round.
But they lost in the first round. Clearly weren't that good. But played hard in the regular season, but just weren't talented enough to get through. It's just... I feel bad, and I think the main thing that keeps sort of Kings fans up at night is, well, hang on, we chose Fox over Halliburton. We were told that Halliburton and Fox couldn't play together. We had to trade one of them, and we traded Halliburton, and we rallied behind Fox, and he led us to third place, and... looking good and making the playoffs and lighting the beam and all that jazz. And then he's just wanting out. And they felt like, well, we've got none of them now. So 2 all-star players, or all-star level players that they drafted, that they grew, that they got really excited about, just are gone. And I think it's just depressing for Kings fans. And they get Levine in this deal, but what is that going to do for them? I mean... Are they making anything? Are they doing anything? If they get in the play-in, does that help them out at all? I mean, in fact, it probably doesn't because you're not in the lottery. I mean, it's a situation where they're just in mediocrity all the time because ownership and their management just keep on making moves like this. They keep on trading their young, talented players for mid 29, 30-year-olds.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, but to be fair to Zach LaVine, he's probably having one of the better seasons
having a good
of his
season,
career. Yeah. I think he's averaging, I think it's probably his best season statistically, and he's been pretty healthy, which is rare for him.
Well, he plays really well against good teams, and I think Golden State were in for him. There were a couple of teams that were looking at him, but the fact that the Kings got him is just a bit of a waste now. I think if he would have went to I don't know, even if he would have went to like a Clippers or a team that was playing good defense that needed a bit of offensive spark, I think he would have been good at. But yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, this is going to be a sad end to a career for those guys. It looks like DeRozan and
yeah,
just a sad way for DeRozan to go out.
It's like, oh, they couldn't keep us away for 6 months. It's like, it didn't look good the first time. I don't think it was. I don't think any smart people were trying to pair those two together again. I take that. I take it for that.
Yeah. I mean, we can leave that one there, obviously, and then from there, basically everyone went crazy and just started doing shit. I think so. The next deal that happened was Caleb Martin to the Mavericks, which is a downgrade. They gave up. What's his name? The guy from the Knicks, Grimes, who's better than Caleb Martin. So, yeah, another downgrade for the Mavs there. And then we get Kuzma for Middleton.
Yeah,
an absolute brain rattler of a trade.
I almost don't have any feelings on it because they're both so crap that it just doesn't, like, why even do the trade? I get it. Middleton is gone. His legs are fucked. Like, he has nothing in the tank. He can still shoot, but he has nothing. He can't do anything. He can't do anything else. But trading him for Kuzma, like,
the all-time leader in air balls.
His plus minus is that bad this year. It's not. He is so bad, and I get he's on a terrible Wizards team, but he has had zero impact on winning his entire career. He had a great summer league and a really good rookie year, and then all of it, ever since then, it's been fucking downhill. So the fact that the Bucks are like, this guy's going to help us is just ludicrous. It is so delusional. It doesn't make any sense. But again, you trade away Chris Middleton, who is terrible. So it doesn't make a difference. Like, you're trading one bad player for another and hoping the bad player that you're trading for is actually good, but just on a bad team.
And well, I mean, Kuzma, he did win a championship with us, and he was solid. You know, he wasn't terrible. He
got worse ever since his rookie year.
But I think they're just hoping he can be a J.R. Smith, microwave scorer off the bench, be somewhat efficient. But
he's not, though.
No, he's not historically, but you know, I mean, Middleton, he plays 5 games and he's out for 3 months. So,
but yeah, that was why they again, another player they held on to for too long. And I get it, franchise guy, been there such a long time, massive cultural guy as well in that locker room. But you had to trade him earlier, and I think they traded him. And now, a couple of years ago when he was injury prone, it wasn't the end of the world because when he played, he was still great. But now it's like he's putting up duds. Like, he can't even score. He can't get open. He can't do anything. So his asset is nothing at the moment. He's got nothing. At least when he was good and injury prone, someone would have given a first round pick or an impact guy that could have done something. But yeah.
Yeah, so the Wizards have a very weird sort of trade period. They then traded Valanciunas to the Kings. I don't understand that from the Kings' point of view. They've got Sabonis. I don't know what they're going to do with Valanciunas.
Oh, who knows what those two wombats fucking organizations are doing. I mean, do we have to go through the Wizards and Kings trades?
No, we don't. Just a brief little thing. And then we get the last sort of big all-star trade, Jimmy to the Warriors for Andrew Wiggins and some other shit. I think a first round and some second rounds or something. But Jimmy, he finally gets out of Miami. You said it wasn't going to happen. I said it was going to happen.
Probably until the Luka trade, it probably wasn't going to happen. Well, the main stumbling block was he wanted to go to the Suns and he wouldn't go anywhere else. And the Suns were like, with the Heat, they're like, okay, we'll give you Kevin Durant.
What?
Oh, no, sorry. The Heat were like, oh, okay, you want Jimmy Butler? Then we want Kevin Durant. And the Suns are like, no. Do you want Bradley Beal? And the Heat are like, no. We want Kevin Durant. And the Suns were like, no, we're not giving up Kevin Durant. We can give you Bradley Beal and his $50 million contract and a no-trade clause. No, we don't really want that. And then it just got into this situation where there was so many teams. They were trying to get so many teams involved. So they trade, I don't know, fucking Jimmy Butler to here, and then he'd get traded to there, and then get traded to Phoenix. It was just so many teams that tried to get involved, or they tried to get involved, sorry, and it just would never work out from the perspective, because the only tradable asset on the Suns is obviously Devin Booker, but he's untouchable, and Kevin Durant, and they didn't want to part with Kevin Durant. So, yeah. That was how the saga went for a couple of weeks and months, really. And it looked like it was never going to get fixed. And then the Golden State Warriors come in at the 9th hour and say, hey, we'll take him off your hands for Andrew Wiggins. And they're like, sounds great. So I don't really get that.
From who? From Golden State?
No, from Miami. I get it.
Well, they had to move him.
They had to move him, but they moved him too late. Again, another team that moved their superstar too late. And if they would have traded him in the summer, they would have got an absolute boatload for him. And now they're getting Andrew Wiggins in a first, really. And Andrew Wiggins, people are hyping up Andrew Wiggins like he's a good piece. What is he going to do? I mean, he is the most mid player of all time.
I mean, to be fair, he was putting up numbers when he was the guy in Minnesota.
That was fucking 10 years ago.
And he was an all-star in Golden State, although he didn't deserve it, but he did make, and he was very good when they won the championship in that playoff run.
That was, how long ago was that now?
3 years.
Andrew Wiggins is a nothing asset. I honestly think he is so overhyped as an asset, and in this trade especially, the Heat valued him way too much. And for the Golden State Warriors, I mean, this is the perfect deal. I mean, you're essentially just matching up the timelines with Steph. You're saying, okay, we're going to trade for you, sign you to a 2-year deal. Steph's deal runs out in 2 years. And essentially, we're going to try and win as much as we can and try and make a push for the playoffs and for the finals. While we've got Steph and Jimmy, and then we're going to go into full rebuild mode. And it lines up perfectly. If they had Andrew Wiggins, would they have any would they make a push in the playoffs? Probably not. They'd maybe sneak into a play-in or a playoffs every now and again, but they would never, they'd never contend. So I think this trade puts them in the realm of contention. I don't think they're doing it this year, but I think
really, you think it puts them? I mean, that's a big jump from being a 10th seed to contending.
No, I don't think this year.
Okay,
I think next year if they can make some moves.
But how they get like Jimmy and Steph? They're going to get
have
worse.
To remodel, yeah, but they'll have to remodel the roster, but they're saying next year is our year. Next year is our final push.
Now, yes, I mean I'm probably the biggest Jimmy Butler fan in the world, but I don't think he's at that level where he can drag a team to the finals anymore.
He doesn't have to anymore. He's got
but Steph isn't at that level either, unfortunately.
I think
there's been a noticeable drop in Steph's play this year.
I think both of them together can really make a push, especially if they add more talent in free agency and through the draft, and they make some moves over the off season. I think they really can. But
I think he makes them better. And again, they're another team that probably should make the playoffs now. I mean, depending on health, I guess. But a Lakers Warriors series now would be so epic. One last Steph LeBron series. Jimmy's involved. Luke is involved. Oh, that would be good to see. But yeah, I'm happy to see Jimmy out of Miami. My brother's been freed. Kevin Love.
Come on, he's in Miami earning fucking $50 million a year.
Okay, whatever. Kevin Love retires from his generational social media run. Shout out to him.
Who?
Kevin Love.
Oh, I thought you said Kanye. I'm like, have you seen what he's been tweeting recently?
Yeah, I have.
The brother is cooked. Anyway, yeah. Any more trades or moves you want to?
Any more trades? I think there's a couple more. Lonzo Ball re-signed. Oh yeah, then Ingram got traded. Ingram to the Raptors.
The Raptors are like, how many 82 overalls in 2K can we collect at the same time? How easy and available is that? Because that is, I mean, you're trading for Brandon Ingram. I mean, what is that move?
To be fair, they didn't give up much. I mean, like Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, sure, I'll trade that for Brandon Ingram.
But they gave away their first-round pick.
Yeah. Brandon Ingram's a good player. He's going to be better than the majority of first-round picks.
But it's like, what are you building? Like, what do you make? You've got Emmanuel